Hello and welcome to this interview with healers, coaches, therapists, way showers, and intuitives in order to understand more about the women behind our businesses and what motivates us and calls us to what we do. In the world of chaos and confusion, these women are a vital part of our lives, and it's my aim to get to know these women a little better. So today I have the amazing Melonie Syrett, who is going to introduce herself. I've known her for quite a while now, and she is an amazing goddess. So, Melonie, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, yeah, I'm Melonie, known often as the Drumwoman, and yeah, you can often be found making drums, running drum circles, taking people through the land, drumming at big old stones, and training people to run Sacred Women's Drum Circle facilitator training. Um, yeah, and yeah, that's probably, if you've heard of me, that's probably where, somewhere in drumland. I used to do a lot of womb work and work with periods and perimenopause and things like that. And um, that's where a lot of working with women has come from, and still is a massive passion of mine. But yeah, I branched out. I work with everybody now. Oh, you might have also seen some drum conventions, and yeah, that's me, drum woman.
Mm. Yeah, there's so much to you. So we'll start to break it down, I think. Yeah, so I met you, I think, at a goddess circle at with Kat Shaw, the amazing artist Kat Shaw, and you were leading us in a beautiful drum circle. It might have been Beltane or something. Yeah, so maybe it was Beltane coming up now. So that was so amazing, and I loved your energy and your honesty and your humility and everything about you. And then I've kind of been friends with you on Facebook. And then I saw, yeah, lots of, I came to Harlow. I came to one of your beautiful circles in the ancient site in Harlow. So, yeah, just so much I want to talk to you and dive into about you. So, what's really interesting is the first thing that you just present, as the drum woman, you've been running these amazing conferences and you run all these amazing circles, and you have so many people wanting to create drums with you as well. And I have to say, you offer such beautiful packages at such reasonable prices. I was thinking, oh my God, how can you make a drum and spend a weekend with Melanie for like that price? So I just want to say, first and foremost, like it's amazing what you offer, and it's no wonder that you are absolutely rammed with women and men, I believe, clients coming to you. So the first thing I do want to ask then is okay, and now I do remember you. I've read some stuff around you doing the womb work. So what took you from doing the womb work with women into creating these drums and holding circles? And
Mm.
and do they still sort of obviously go together?
Yeah.
And describe how that is.
Well, what took me to womb work was my own journey with my own womb. So I was um, diagnosed with endometriosis after years and years of absolute agony and period pains. Um, and that took me into searching for ways to heal my womb after being told that there was no cure for such a thing, and there was only medical kind of numbing or removing of things. And that led me holistically trying to find somewhere to heal, because the medical system were not up for that. That led me to women's circles. And so, from sitting in my first women's circle at a Heal the Womb event, um, that did something to me, that I felt like I needed to be in that space more. I needed to be able to sit in circle with no judgment, no competition, and actually speak about how I was feeling, which was absolutely brand new to me in my life. So I started a red tent because there weren't any near me, um, and was running women's circles. And during that time, I also learned womb massage and did a whole range of menstrual brace practices, and was really rooting in um, a change in my own body as well as working with other women. And I, alongside this, I had learned Reiki. I got really excited by that, and that opened up a whole new world of things to me. And I wanted to learn more. So the first new thing that came along was Reiki drumming, and that brought me to the drum. So I was drumming for healing, drumming with other people, drumming to journey, exploring sound healing, doing all the courses I could for sound healing, um, and started doing sound baths. So I was running women's circles and sound baths, and then doing some healing work on the side, as it were. All this whilst being a full-time primary school teacher. And there came a point where I felt like it would be really good to drum with these women. And so I started drum circles, uh, women's ones initially. Um, and that is what brought me the drumming and the womb work kind of together. The drumming and the women's work together. And for years we did a lot of drum circles. We did closed drum circles where it was the same people every time for months on end, and just expanded, and it brought what I do now into its form, which is very much a melding of the women's circle, the red tent, sharing held safe space, no judgment, no competition, and the drumming, the access to other worlds, the deep healing, the bringing out of your own expression, whether it be through the drum, through movement, through sound, that all comes from beating the drum. Um, yeah, so I think that answers your question.
Yeah, and I
Um,
love the way that like you're using your body to express yourself, and like as a somatic practitioner, I'm just like everything is about, and you talk about energy and movement and moving the issues, and like you presenced the endometriosis, and what I've been learning through trauma and around endometriosis and fibromyalgia and immune diseases as well, and there not being any cures, and it's sort of pointing a lot to trauma. I mean, that's a whole other thing to unpack, but I think it's really interesting for me as I'm weaving together my work, as it's transforming at the moment. It's bringing in all of the things that you're talking about, and they all connect.
mhm.
So do you feel then that the drumming was the calling, the energy of the drumming, the vibrational frequency of the drumming, and the energy of the, and you also talked about Reiki, so it's all beautiful stuff. Did you feel that it was starting to heal your endometriosis? Did it heal your endometriosis, or what did it do for you?
So as I was stepping deeper into this, uh, looking to heal, um, the first things I had to do were to reconnect to my body. I had been very disconnected, specifically sort of from underneath breasts down to the thighs. I really disliked. I'd even use the term hated my belly, all that area, that womb space area. And so the women's circle work got me talking about things like that, as well as introducing me into my menstrual cycle and trying to honor my body more and be present with me instead of throw a load of hate and pain and anger and or disassociation at myself. And I think that was a huge part of it. And then working with the drum, it was like I want to say like a catalyst. It enabled the self-expression in such a deep way. It enabled me to speak without fear about what other people, how it would land with other people, and for it to be held and not be interrupted. Or we all often try to help someone when they're in a bit of pain or hurt, or they cry, and it enabled me to cry and feel my feelings without somebody reaching over and throwing me a box of tissues, or stopping that kind of stopping. um, and yeah, and so over time the drumming has, I guess, yeah, it's woven through my body. and so you asked about the endometriosis. So in the first year, well, in the first month, so I was on the pill for 18 months because that was all that they could do medically to stop the pain. They wanted to give me a coil. I didn't want a coil. So I took the pill. And then I decided I wasn't going to take the pill anymore. And I started a month before stopping the pill. I started honouring myself, speaking like this in my women's circles. I started sitting in the bath and washing myself like I was Cleopatra and really enjoying bathing in milk, you know, that kind of feeling of spending time touching my body in a loving way, you know, just washing my belly was a massive thing, you know. And then there was also the sound that came with it. So I had a big practice of drumming regularly, if not daily, just to connect to myself, to ground, to see what I needed, and then maybe journal and things like that. And after the first month of stopping the pill, my first bleed was absolutely pain-free, which I'd never experienced in my life ever. And I was, yeah, that was just, I can remember it so vividly. Um, yeah, it was the whole of my womb lining came out in one piece. I didn't feel it. It was insane. And then so those months went on, and each bleed was pain free, which again was like, what? How is this happening? You know, they said that this would never happen. Every month was 8 to 10 hours of absolute agony, and then an entire night of being exhausted. Um, it was horrendous, and it had just stopped by coming back to my body lovingly. And so now most of my bleeds are pain free. So what are we, 10, 15 years on, 14 years on from there? Most of my bleeds are pain free. If they're not, it's because I've either overdone it, I've not given myself space, or I've held too much space and I've not cleared. So potentially it's like the stuff that I carry from everything that we've been doing, or I've eaten really badly, which is my vice. You know, if things are too much, or I'm not, I don't have enough time for myself, then I'll eat badly, and then that reflects in my bleed. Yeah, so it's a real mixture, I would say, of drums and also of this womb work of real coming back to me, exploring my needs, making those needs, meeting those needs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's so beautiful, and I love that. I love your honesty, because it's so helpful for other women to hear other women's stories and how they get, especially women like you who, you know, who sort of do such amazing work. And the whole idea of the mind, body, spirit coming together,
For
like
sure.
that for me is coming through so strongly. Obviously, I have this massive call to the goddess as well, and I know that I think you do, right? And this mind, body, spirit approach to healing women, healing all, but particularly to women. And just the fact that you started to associate more with your body, and you started to love your body and your
Mm.
womb and your yoni, being the ovaries and the vulva is the yoni, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm
oh
sat here. I'm sat here. My hands are over my womb
yeah,
space as I'm talking
great,
to you.
great.
And
And this is it. And just, you know, when we start to present that love, it's quite amazing. I was listening just because it's triggering me. I'll just tell us a quick story. I was listening to Peter Levine the other night talking about somatic experiencing and how he went from sort of being a uh, trauma expert into actually using somatic experiencing sort of movement in his work. He was talking about the fact that he had this crash when he was many years ago, and his body, he left his body, and he could oversee himself in this car crash, and that someone who came to him and literally just held his hand and just told him it was going to be okay, and how he came back into his body was his first sort of understanding of how important it is to have this co-regulation with others and with ourselves, and how important touch is. So
mm,
you saying, like, I'm sitting there holding my womb, like the
mm,
simple act of using our hands to heal our womb space is just seems like normal to me and you to do that because we just feel instinctively we know, but to other people it's not. And sometimes like I forget as a practitioner that other people need that guidance. Other people
Mm,
need that guidance to head to their bodies to
mm,
start to associate. And the more I listen to clients and the more disassociation, it's a catch-22. Where does the disassociation start? Where does the endometriosis start? It's kind of a bit of a wheel, isn't it? But at the end of the day, all this sort of energy healing, vibrational frequency of the
yeah.
drums, being present in our bodies, coming home to our bodies, and not sort of being a head and a body. Because you're talking about the doctors giving you the pill. That's because they see us as just well, either a head or a body. Not the nobody asks you what
Mm,
your history is and why you might have had, what was your
mm,
trauma that may have caused
yeah.
your endometriosis. And you don't have to go into that now unless you feel like sharing. But at the end of the day, there's always a deeper understanding,
Yeah.
a deeper trauma, or a deeper experience that has led us to where we are. And it's so amazing that you found that um the drum is the biggest calling for you. I
Mm,
presume it's the drum that's your biggest calling and your
yeah.
biggest healer. Would you say is the drum?
Yeah. I would
The
say
energy the
that
drum creates.
I've gone through a couple of phases, um, and the drum is where that has led me. Just coming back to something you said about like we know how to hold our bodies and things like that now. I didn't beforehand, it wasn't something I did. I wouldn't, and I certainly wouldn't let anybody kind of see like the way I chose my clothes, if the way I wash myself, like that simpleness of washing myself with reverence in a bath wasn't something I would do. Um, and so it is, it's like we step out of connection, and I have had to relearn or reconnect to me. And like you say about disassociation, I can remember being about 11, when it was not okay for me to have the body shape I had, and that is when it started. I think maybe even younger, but that's where I can kind of pinpoint um, the the kind of dislike for my belly, particularly my belly. But anyway, yeah. So the drum, yeah, they the 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 awful periods led to looking to support my body in changing, because I didn't believe what they were saying, and they were giving me the pill just to, like you say, just to numb me, just to stop me being in pain. It wasn't about anything to do with why might this have happened. It was just, let's stop this then, and then if you stop taking this, it will happen again. The words they said when I said I didn't want to have any more treatment was, you do realise that when you do need us, you'll be at the bottom of the queue. And I have never been back, so it's okay. I don't need to be in the queue at all. Um, but yeah, the womb work specifically led to a real deeper understanding of vibrational frequencies and how that travels through the body, how it can make mass change in things that are bundled up, like endometriosis, in things that are stuck in the body, like your trauma or your um, memories, and things said that you've said to yourself and stuff like that, all within you. And working with the drum just lets it out, and in a way that if you hold it right, if you're in a space that can hold it right, um, it can be really safe to do so. um, yeah, yeah.
So how about do you work on shamanic levels as well? Like what are the different sort of levels that you work on with the drum, and how you heal with the drum?
My The way I drum now, I don't even know if I can describe what it is, except for it is with intention. That is the biggest thing. It is with intention and following, hearing, noticing what the drum, the person, the space needs, rather than coming up from here and going, oh, I'm going to follow this modality, or I'm going to follow these 5 steps, or I'm going to beat at this particular amount of beats per minute. What seems to be what has come through me is like the drums have shared this information, is that intention is everything, and that by following it, the arc that the drum makes in terms of how it kind of builds up when you're drumming and then comes down to the place of ending, or does a few of these, is where it is. I have trained, like I say, with Reiki drumming. I did a load of shamanic training when I lived in London. I've done a lot of other sound healing training, gong training, and so I guess that kind of waves through me when I work, that understanding. But now I just let go. So you could call it a shamanic way of working. I am guided when I drum.
Mm.
Whether that be by beings, or by the feel of the energy of what's going on, the frequency, the waves of the drum. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so no, so for beings.
You want me
Mhm.
to say a bit more? What
Yeah,
beings?
let's expand on the beings. Let's talk about the beings.
Well,
Beings.
so there, when I drum, I'm really visual, so I often drum with my eyes closed, and I see and I feel what's happening. And sometimes, so say for example, it's in a drum circle, there's a bunch of women, a bunch of people. I like, for example, our last Mark's Tay drum circle. I stood in the corner of the room away from the circle and was really aware of a very tall man. I say man, I don't know if he was a man, it was a masculine energy, it felt like. Um, Kind of where I was sat before. And I thought one of the men in the group had got up and had stood there. And I opened my eyes and looked, and there was nobody there of physical sense, but there was this huge energy being, this being that looked like perhaps an ancient ancestor of, I don't know, almost reddish skin and a big headdress, and was huge, and he was holding the space, his arms were out around us all, and he was saying things. So yeah, that's one of the beings I get guides, I guess you might call them, and then sometimes I get there are dragons have appeared a lot, people that seem like they're galactic beings, bright lights. Often there's a energy in the middle that seems portal like, that will come out and it'll share something with everybody. And
Mm.
then so if I was working one to one with people, sometimes I get it's like a little white light, and over the years I've learned that this little white light that looks like a tiny fairy is a female ancestor. Not an old, not far away one either. So maybe 1, 2, 3 down the generations, mother, grandmother, great grandmother, and she is there because she's got something to do with the healing for that person. Whether it's holding them, whether it's doing something on their womb space, or wherever. Yeah. So yeah,
Mm.
I'm just open to what comes now.
Mm. That's really great. So why did you move from working with just women in the red tent circles to opening up your business to men as well?
I got the message over and over again when I was drumming that this should be for everyone. Um, and I was working with women predominantly for a very long time. And then I'd get well, men like to drum too, on, a Facebook post about a women's circle. Men like to drum too. And my answer would be, well, yeah, but there's, women like to drum with women as well, and that's okay. Which it is okay. We can all drum with who we are called to drum with. And some people provide for, women only. Some people provide for inclusive spaces where it all can come, or trans spaces, or men's spaces, or it all has a place. And so I still run women's circles because for me that's it's a really safe space, and I find that most who come experience that as well, and don't often get an opportunity to be in a space with a load of women in that non-judgmental, non-competitive space. But over time, I was getting, you need to do some stuff with men, you need to do some stuff with men. And so my friend Steve and I, we started a mixed circle in London, and then I moved out of London. And so that stopped because I was too far away to do
Is
it
that with Steve
regularly.
Altman? Was that
Yeah,
just...
the Steve that we
Oh,
were
okay, that's
talking
the
about earlier.
connection. Okay, great. Okay, I've got you
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Yeah, we were doing some stuff in Hackney Wick, and then I moved away, and it was just too much to get there. And then actually, the venue closed. Um, COVID and everything like that, I think, had an impact. But then I was still getting this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so where I live now, I live in North Essex, and I run a mixed circle in Marks Tay, which is near Colchester. And as soon it was like, is this right? Is this right? And as soon as it started, it's perfect. The energy that group, where all are welcome, the energy that group brings is different to just the women's circle on its own.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. The community spirit we have, the friendships that have been made, as well as the deep, I don't know what you'd call it. I want to say healing spaces, but it's more than that. It's real. We make magic, you close the door, and we're in another world, and we're sending out things to the world to raise vibrations, to open hearts, to heal hurts, and you can feel it, and everybody there is in it. It's beautiful.
Mm. I
Yeah.
love that. I mean, I'm in a mixed drumming circle that we go to the forest near us, and it's amazing an event that's put on in a park that has a very sacred place. I won't tell you where it is because we can't let everybody know because I don't know what they're supposed to be doing, but it's beautiful, and it's a mixed space, and we have fairy lights all the way in, and it's amazing. And I find that energy with the male and the masculine and the feminine is beautiful, and it's perfect. And I think with the drum, I think it's probably easier in some ways to hold that space because you're not sharing. You're not sharing on a verbal level, so it's an energetic level, and you're all there with the same love and reverence of the drum and the energy and the vibrational frequency the drum creates. So when you're doing fire and drum, it's like everybody's in that same space. And I think that's probably why personally I really, really love that. But I really do feel like there's still this space for women's circles, although I have to say, really coming through with this dragon energy and with this, this sacred union, this Heros Gamos, this, I mean, even within my own work, I'm kind of working on something, working out who I am because of this sort of masculine, feminine energy that's coming through. It's a big question at the moment for me, am I a feminine embodiment coach, or am I, something something else. Actually, when I introduced myself, I don't even know if I said what I was because I probably missed it out today. There must have been a reason why I did that, because I think I'm going through that transition. I think what I'm trying to say is that there's these need for spaces, safe spaces for women, because I work with sexual trauma, so I kind of like know that women need this safety space to be just with women, because not most of the time, but I guess most of the time, sexual perpetrators are often men in most cases. So women need that safety space. But you know, it is great to have space with men and have the energy of men and the divine masculine. And we do need to start creating more of these spaces. Otherwise, you know, I have some beautiful males. I have two sons and a husband, and you know, I'd hate to think that they were excluded from things because they're male. But like you say, we need to be encouraging these spaces with women, spaces with men, and then these group spaces. So yeah, I want to ask you, what's your why? What's your overall why about what you do? Why do you do the thing? Why are you the drum woman?
Why am I the drum woman? Um, the overall why is because it's part of me. I feel like I was making drums yesterday and just laughing all the way through, loving it, just in such a place of passion. It fills me up. Making drums makes me feel so happy. Watching people make drums at a workshop makes me feel so happy. Even if it's been a big journey and that person has really unraveled and then re-raveled, and you know, they leave with this face of like, wow, look what I've made. And it's massive, massive thing. And then those drums are going to go out and they're going to sound, and then whether they sound just for that person or they sound for others, it's going to create a raise in the frequency of everything. And so I think that's my why. These things, if you're coming from a heart-based space and you start to play a drum, you're going to influence everything positively. Everybody smiles when they're playing a drum, or they might cry, but then they might go, oh, that was amazing. And then, you know, that's why. And then why the drum woman? So years ago, when I was still teaching primary school stuff and as assistant head, my world was just becoming really confusing. I was working full time and then ended up working part time, but was also working as a consultant for the local authority. I was doing the womb work, I was doing the drum stuff, and it felt like this big soup, and I had no idea who I was. I had like 5 Instagram accounts with all the different jobs that I did, and when I tried to explain who I was and what I did, it was like there was too many things. The list was massive, and it was like divine intervention plopped a business coach in front of me who was doing another course to become an executive business coach, and was offering a really cheap case study exchange. And the first thing we did in the first session was, she said, right, so tell me what you do. And I was like, and we made a big list. And then we started to move these things into things I do for fun, things I do for money, like as a job, things I do for, you know, or why do I do them? And as we moved things around, it became really clear that the drum woman was all of those things: the fun, the money, the healing, the personal life, the everything. And everything else was really not as important anymore. And I woke up with in the morning with a dream, and my logo just went psh, and smacked in my face, and I woke up and was like, okay, I know who I am now. I know what this is. And started to carve that way, and everything else is part of it. Everything is part of the bundle, but the drums, it's like, if I could explain what is happening inside me while I'm trying to describe it, it's like there were no words. It's so good. It's everything is so great with drums.
No, and I
It
totally
affects me
agree.
fully.
I totally agree. And as somebody who's a bit of not very, you know, not very, I mean, I use it for my healing, and I'm going to come and make one with you. And this is all going to fall down, so I'm not going to pull out.
Be
But I bought this
careful.
beautiful drum, and last summer, oh, actually, I've got to show you. Not as good as yours, I'm sure, but it just
No, it's
called to me because
beautiful.
look at the womb on it and the yoni and everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, whoa. So maybe we should drum it a bit, but what was I going to? I totally know why. I totally know why it calls you, and then you just get into it. So, like, as sort of relatively new to it all in the last year or so, I'm absolutely drawn to the sounds that it makes and the resonation that it makes, and how my clients feel when I use it on them and everything. And it's just absolutely amazing. So one thing I want to ask you is when did you resign being a primary school teacher? Was that recent, or was that a while ago, or?
2017.
2017.
2017. It was the year that the Drumwoman was officially birthed.
Okay.
And in that year, it was clearly a big year. In that year, I left my partner of 8 years. I moved out for the first time ever on my own. I resigned from my career of 15 years and left that job. And then later on in that year, I left the consultancy work as well and became 100% self-employed. And, the universe put a lot of things in the way to ask me, are you going to stay here in this job? Here's something really difficult. Are you going to stay here in this job? Yeah, you are. Okay, here's something really mad, that's beyond what this should be happening in this job. I've got some
Yes, postman,
Drumwoman deliveries. I won't be a
drama and
second.
delivery. Brilliant, brilliant. Now, while she's away, we can have a really good.
See you
sneak-
later.
We can have a sneaky look at all your drums while you're at the door.
Say that again.
We're having a good look at your drums while you're at the door. It's like, look, everyone, look at her drums.
I've got a big box of Drumwoman drum
Stuff,
making stuff.
stuff. Oh my God, amazing. So can you just tell me, just I know probably how long have we had? No, that's okay. Could you just tell me a little bit about, like, I saw you just did DrumCon. Was that the first one you've ever done? No, it looks amazing. Tell me a
Yeah.
bit about how that came to fruition, how that was. Are you doing one for 2025? What's going on?
Yeah, over from time to time, I get big pieces of paper out and I sit in meditation and I'm like, right, what is it? What's next? Or where am I going? And so a few years ago, there was this real feeling of like, there's some more stuff coming, and I couldn't work it out. It was, yeah, it was just a mess, a mush in my head. And it was all about community, which, is what's been coming through for a long time. But it was all about community. It was all about bringing people together. It was all about using the drums to bring people together. And I just couldn't work it out. And so I wrote on these big bits of paper all the stuff that was coming and was trying to weave a way through this, make a thread through, and I couldn't quite understand. It became clear that it was supposed to be like a, for want of a better word, a membership or a something where people could be together. And I was like, right, okay, I don't really want to do a membership. I'm not, that's not, I don't have space and time for that. And it's also not something that I want to do. And I was sat there and I kept getting this, you've got to do an event, you've got to do an event, you've got to do an event. And so last January, maybe, I got I'm looking at my sofa. I was sat on the sofa and it was like, do it now. And I'm like, well, I'm not ready. I like to be ready. I'm a Virgo, I want it all in my ducks in a row. And it was like, do it now. And I'm like, I'm not ready. And then next thing I knew, I'd put out on Facebook that I was going to run a convention for women drummers, makers, and players in the November, yeah. And is there anybody who'd like to run a workshop? And then I got overwhelmed by the amount of people saying, yes, I'd love to run this, I'd love to run that, or I can do your kitchen, I want to come, when are the tickets available? Da, da, da. And it was in place. And so in November last year, we did the first convention of women drummers, makers, and players, specifically for women, and always had an idea that there'd be one for men and women because, like I say, it was kept coming through that we had to have everyone together, a community thing, but there was still that space for women. So the women's convention happened in November. and it was beyond my hopes and dreams. There was something like 150 people there. We had two workshops going on at the same time, so people chose where they wanted to go. There were talks, workshops, performances, and it ended with a band, and it was just mind blowing. And the feedback was that everything was great, and then there was a couple of bits that saying we'd love one with men, and I was like, well, I knew this was going to happen anyway. So that's what's just happened. Not the Saturday just gone, but the Saturday before, we did DrumCon, which is a convention for all, where all are welcome. And again, same sort of format. We had the two or three things going on at the same time. And when I say things, I mean like there's djembe workshops, there was Middle Eastern frame drumming workshops, there's a big massive drum circle, intentional drum circle. There were talks on how the drum changes the brain, talks on creating drums and gongs and things with frequency in mind to make shifts, a massive gong drum crystal bowl journey, a drum journey for abundance. There were so many wonderful things, and people chose what they wanted. And again, the feedback was just beyond. And so, yeah, so in November, the women's convention happens again, the second one. And that's on the 9th and 10th of November. It's over 2 days. And so we've got a late night Saturday. So it opens at 10 and you can stay there all day if you want to. We close at about 11. There's going to be a dinner provided after all the workshops, and then a band, and then 5 rhythms. So if you like dancing and that kind of somatic stuff and a lot of drum sounds in it, then we're having a late night and late night 5 rhythms. And then the Sunday is 10:30 till 4:30, I think, and it's the same thing. There'll be a load of different workshops. You can go to whatever you like. There's a space, a breakout chill out space, so if you don't want to go to a workshop, you can go and lay down for a bit after whatever you just did. There's food stalls, people, all kinds of drum making, drum bit stalls, as well as the kind of holistic mind body spirit kind of stall vibe.
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
And where's
and
that going to be?
hmm?
Sorry.
I was going to say, on each of these, I want to make it accessible. So the tickets for DrumCon just gone were £30 for the whole day, and this one is 65, the 2-day one, because there's enough to spend your money on if you want to go shopping on the stalls and things, but it's more about bringing people together. And just there's so many drum circles and so many drum groups and so many drummers or drum interested, or have always wanted to but never known where to go, and they don't seem to come together. And I think that's what was all about. It was like bring these people together to change how they feel, to change
Change the bloody world.
the
Drum.
world. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we
We
did
drum
a
together. When we drum together, I think the energy that's created through these drums is quite incredible, actually.
it really is.
It really is. So just before the pandemic, I was in Trafalgar Square, doing a Druid drum circle, and it was literally just before the pandemic. And it was calling, I can't what it was about peace on earth, but it was bigger than that, and I can't even, I'm just trying to remember what the convention was, but it was a big call for peace. And actually somebody in that convention was talking about, we need to pause, we need to take a pause on earth. And I remember thinking, oh, what that look like? And he was like, yeah, we need to like take up the concrete in our gardens and start sowing seeds and just take a pause from life. And we were drumming and everything. And I remember thinking, that's so good. I like the idea of that. And the next thing you know, be careful what you wish for. But the energy that we'd created in Trafalgar Square with hundreds of us just drumming was quite incredible. And for me, I also it's a bit of a story, but I've sort of I feel like my lineage is Boudica, and the Druids and Boudica had quite a close relationship. You know, it was the Druids that encouraged Boudica to take the Iceni tribe. You know, so I remember standing there and the and the energy that was created. It was like, yes, you know, you can really feel into your ancestral. I think through the drum, you really feel your ancestral line. You know, I think it
Absolutely.
really talks to you, and it's a really amazing meditative space to kind of really, yeah, really. I think it's the one place I can really feel who I am is when I'm drumming.
Mm.
And I really, really enjoyed the circle that you did in Harlow. And again, it was I wanted to come to one recently and couldn't, but the one I came to, my friend Nikki Hill, was absolutely beautiful, and it really took us into that ancestral feeling of like, who am I? Where have I come from? What is my lineage? You know, and I really feel that with these drums. It's like, what is that? So to end, maybe could you just tell people where they can find you? I know you do so much, and I know that you plan really well. You're very good at strategy. I have noticed at the beginning of the year you have all of them set out. So where can anyone who wants to join either a circle on ancient sites, one of your weekend workshops, one of your day retreats, work with you one-to-one? Do you have a website that people can find you? Is it easy to access everything you do?
Yeah, so the website is thedrumwoman.com, and on there are links along the top, and if you click schedule, it will show you all the drum circles. If you click drum birthing, it will show you where all the drum making workshops are and the retreats and things. So there's a Wiltshire retreat that still has spaces left. That's in August. That's we walk the land with the hide and the hoop, and we make the drum across those sacred places, speaking to the land, connecting to the land, and asking if it needs anything from us, and asking if it will infuse our drums. So our drums are of that land. It's really beautiful. But yeah, that's all on there. All the information about the drum conventions is on there. Everything is on the website, and if you just use that top navigation bit, it will get you through everything. You
Amazing.
can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at the Drum Woman. And yeah, we can have a look at where I've been, what I've been up to.
Excellent. Okay. You know, the other thing I was going to say, we haven't really had time to talk about it, but the connection with the drum and the land and Mother Earth, and you know, the fact that you go to all these different ancient sites and reconnect back to the earth. And are all your drums skin or some non-skin, or are they all skin? What's for
So
vegan? Do you have a
yeah,
vegan option?
so in my workshops we make drums from animal hide, because uh, well, no, one reason that I don't do vegan ones in there is because I can't seem to get anything that you can mold and shape and create a drum with in a vegan way. I know there's this amazing man creating mushroom leather, and he spent years trying to perfect it and is now able to create drums with it, but it's not readily available. And I've contacted a couple of companies who also make it on a bit of a wider scale, but they're not interested in such things. They want big business injections of cash, really. But the reason that I work with animal hide is because I think that we're really lucky to be able to work with the spirit of an animal. And I try and get everything that I work with from the most ethical and sustainable places that I can. I'm not buying from abattoirs, although I say that sometimes I get messages that I probably should try and work with abattoir animals to kind of help clear some of the horrendousness that they will have felt and seen and been part of as their end of life came. I haven't yet been brave enough to take that step. and that will certainly be something I just do privately as opposed to kind of in a workshop. But I work with these hides that would either have been thrown away or burned as waste, or they've been they're ill and end of life animals, or they're animals that have fed communities, and then all the parts have been used, and we work in reverence and honor them, and connect with them and see what they need. And I used to just get like sage and smudge them and cleanse and clear. Now, over the years, I make my own rawhide as well from roadkill and things like that here. And now I put my hands on them and I can feel them, I can see them, they speak to me, they show me where they're at. Some of them are really happy, they're ready to be made into something, they want to sing again, they've got big medicine to share. And others are, they didn't know that where they were, they're a bit shocked, and I work with them to support them in shifting that energy, and then ask if I can work with them. And yeah, it's a it's not a journey I thought I'd be on, um,
Mm,
but is
right.
one I'm very humbled to take. Um,
Yeah, it's a hard, it's that, I mean, I remember when I was buying this and I was like, oh, it's, it's skin, and but it's like that's the whole idea, that you're kind of giving reverence to the skin. Um, so what animal would this be? What animal would this actually be? Because I don't
your
actually,
one, turn
yeah.
it round on the inside so I can see. So it's quite white, yeah? And is it, if you put your fingers over the front of it, is it dappled as if there are little
Yeah,
paws? It's
yeah,
probably goat.
goats.
It's probably goat, yeah. Reindeer doesn't have the paws, it's very
You know
smooth.
what? I really like the idea that that's goat,
Mm.
because people are gonna think whatever they think, but I've been getting a lot of downloads from the goddess Ashera, and I was just in Spain and I was reading all about her, and there's these totems that you get as the Ashera poles, and then she's also associated with goats. And I was just sort of finishing my podcast, went up to the mountains to see my friends, and then there was like there's hundreds of goats on the side of the mountain. And I was like, okay, she's giving me the sign. So actually, I really like that fact that you said today that that this is probably goat. So yeah, I like that idea, because the goats connect with me. Yes, and the goats are beautiful animals. So
They are, and they bring, I found, goats, goat drums. Goats are resilient. They live everywhere, like on the sides of massive cliffs where they're held on. They're really herd animals. They're playful. They're friendly. So there's a lot of beautiful energy that, and they're funny. Funny. They like to play, don't they? So there's a lot
they're
of beautiful
brilliant.
energy in a goat. Mm.
Definitely. I used to have this piece of land in the Alpujarras, and I used to call the goat man in, and I used to get him to like get the goats to just eat all the in between the trees, like my lawnmowers. And then
Amazing.
they'd go off. So I love the goats, and you hear all the bells, and they're coming around the corner. You could hear them for hours, and they're coming close. Beautiful, beautiful creatures. So yeah, I'm glad we ended talking about goats. I love that. So
Yeah.
it's been absolutely beautiful talking to you. I could actually talk to you for hours, because there's so many different other things I know, different levels that you work on.
Mm.
But it's hard to get it all in. So people know where to find you. I'll be linking all your links to this conversation. And yeah, is there anything else you would like to add to this conversation?
I think, yeah, two things. One is if you're listening and you think, oh no, drums, oh, they make me cry straight away, or there's a niggle in me, or oh yeah, they're too much. I would say there's something the drums have to share with you, and to gently take your way towards them, whether it be a person drumming for you, whether you're drumming, whether you're sitting near some people drumming, and just allow it to move whatever it's moving. Just like gongs, if you're in a gong bath, sometimes they can feel really uncomfortable and if you let them in, they're just gently moving, shifting. The sound waves are moving things, bringing things back into balance, releasing stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of people I know who are really affected by the sound of the drum in a way that is difficult. And I would say, allow yourself to be in it. And I guess the other thing I was going to say was that you touched on the stuff to do with stones and things, and you were asking me sort of about my journey. The drums have now taken me into the land, and um, the stone circles and ancient energy spots. The it I got It's really interesting because I was really doubting myself a few years ago, and I got a message in a in a a session that somebody held for me, that it's not about whether I am doing the right thing in the space, because, and I don't need to know how to do it, because the drums know, and the spirit of the place knows, and the energy of the place knows, and so I can just sit and drum and it will take wherever, and that's kind of where I'm at now personally. It's an unfolding of working with the land energy for the greater good, I think, for the energy of the world. It's a big thing.
Mm. Yeah. I can feel that, and it's trust. Just because sometimes we don't trust ourselves with the downloads that we get, and we kind of go, "What, me?" Like you basically you kind of pointed to it. You get these kind of messages, and then you kind of go, "What? You talking to me? What, really? Do I have to?" And that's what I get with the goddess, and you get that with the drums, and it's like we just have to trust that we are the ones to be passing on this message. We are the ones, and it's not about us being higher, or we're channels. Like, as a Reiki healer, it's the beginning of, when you do Reiki, it's the beginning of opening you up to other things, right? And then you get callings to do these things, and then you know that you're a vessel, and you're taught when you become a Reiki healer, you're a vessel, and that's when we know that we can surrender and
Mm,
trust, because we're
mm,
just a vessel. We don't know why, but we're just the vessel. Not just, but we're the vessel, right? So when you're going to these ancient sites, if you've got that knowing, right, that you're the vessel, you're not the guru, you're the vessel,
absolutely.
then it's like it all becomes real. And the other thing you said about, oh my God, I went to drumming gong workshops, and I remember so many women have come out going, God, I felt really anxious after that, and it made me feel this, it made me feel that. And you're so right that you have to trust again, another, using the word trust again, that the reason, what that icky feeling that you're getting, or that annoyance, is your own dark shadows. And
Mm-hmm,
what's coming up is that you either let it come to here, and then you go back down, or you let it come up and you ride through the uncomfortableness of the feeling,
mm-hmm,
and then you transmute. And that's what the drumming, and that's what the gong, and that's what all the resonance does, right? Even with all healing, it's going to be fucking uncomfortable to start with, and you might not like it because you haven't surrendered. So
mm,
once you do it and you get into it, so I highly recommend you go to one of Melonie's circles. They're absolutely incredible. They're beautiful. She holds the space with so much humility and so much love. And there's spaciousness for everyone, and everyone feels included. And me and Nikki were really like new to your group. We didn't know anyone, and everyone made us feel really welcome, including you. And it was just like everyone had that spaciousness. And I remember feeling that feeling, because it was one of my first drumming circles. And I remember feeling, it was a few years ago, and I remember feeling like, okay, this is a little bit uncomfortable. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing with a drum. I've only just got my drum, it's kind of cool to me. And then I did go through that agitation. But you have to transmute the agitation. And once you transmute the agitation to surrender,
mm-hmm,
that's when that peace comes that you talk about, which is love.
mm,
You said your drum is love and rootedness. Like when you allow the earth to hold you, Mother Earth to hold you, then your heart opens and the agitation disperses,
mm,
and you step into, oh, this is what it's all about.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of like you gotta let it ride through you.
yeah. Yeah, it's like the first taking off that little layer of an onion, or taking off that little, what, like a, when you undo the tire and it like psh, the air comes out. It's that letting go, that surrender, that letting go, and it's releasing, and then there's more space for the new, the whatever to come, or for things to move. And I find that with drums, people just, they've become more of who they are. They start to work out who they are. They find things come through them when they're drumming, and they're like, why have I been living like this? This is not what I want to be. This is not who I am. And they come more and more closer to their authentic selves. It's wonderful. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
they're excellent.
But you've got to take this first step. You've got to do it
100%. Everyone should get themselves a drum, and
for
everyone should
sure.
go and do one of Melanie's workshops for sure. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
And you.
I could actually talk to you forever, but maybe we'll have to do that off camera for now. But love and light, Satnam.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You.